When my husband's mom tried to take over our honeymoon, I had to fight back against her odd behavior, but things got worse. Hey Reddit, I need to get something off my chest. My husband, Ethan, 32M, and I, 30 for newlyweds, and our honeymoon in Maui was supposed to be the perfect escape. Just the two of us, no stress, no interruptions. Except, that's not how it went down. Ethan's mother, Diane, has been obsessed with him his entire life. I'm talking about extreme levels of control. She used to choose his clothes well into his 20s, called him multiple times a day, and even paid his bills despite the fact that we both had good jobs. But this was different. It was like I wasn't even there on our honeymoon. It started innocently enough. Diane called once, then again, every single hour. I thought maybe Ethan would set boundaries, but instead he kept answering. It's easier this way, he said. Every time, by day 3 of our honeymoon, I had had enough. We were at dinner, enjoying the view when her call came through. I snatched Ethan's phone, blocked her number, and said, if you can't cut the cord, I will. Ethan's face went white. He was shocked. Diane had been his lifeline, his constant. But I wasn't having it anymore. Our honeymoon was supposed to be about us, not her. First update, the next day, Ethan was a mess. He couldn't stop checking his phone, even though I had blocked her. He was visibly anxious, checking his email every few minutes. And finally, he got an email from Diane that almost made me spit out my coffee. It read, Ethan, this is an emergency. You need to come home immediately. You have no idea what you've done. You can't keep ignoring your mother. You're making a terrible mistake. I didn't believe it for a second. If it were an emergency, his sister would have called. So Ethan called his sister, Hannah, who answered immediately. After a few seconds of silence, she sighed. The emergency is that Mom can't get a hold of you. Ethan looked like he'd been slapped. Diane had been manipulating him for so long that he didn't even realize the level of control she had over him. She even told his sister that he was being brainwashed by me and that she needed to rescue him. I was done with the excuses. This was bigger than just a phone call. Diane had built her entire world around Ethan, and if I wanted our marriage to survive, I needed to fight back. Edit. Thank you all for the amazing support and comments. I know many of you are asking why I didn't just talk to Ethan first. Honestly, I tried, but every time I mentioned Diane's behavior, he'd dismiss it. I had to take action to make him see the issue for what it really was. Second update, I thought we were finally getting through to him. That was until the next night. We were sitting down to dinner at this gorgeous restaurant by the ocean when I saw her, Diane, in Maui, across the restaurant. I nearly choked on my wine. Ethan froze when he saw her like a deer caught in headlights. Diane marched over to our table, her eyes locked on Ethan. She didn't even acknowledge me. Ethan, come with me now, she demanded. I couldn't believe it. She flew here. I stood up and confronted her. Are you kidding me? You flew here to control him on our honeymoon? Ignoring me completely, Diane's eyes never left Ethan. She was practically ordering him to come with her. And when he didn't respond, she took it to the next level, grabbing his wrist, trying to pull him out of his seat. I snapped. Don't you dare touch him. The entire restaurant went dead silent. For the first time ever, Ethan jerked his arm away. Mom, you need to leave. He actually said it. Diane looked like I had slapped her. You're really going to let her speak to me like this? She whispered to Ethan, her voice full of venom. But Ethan didn't back down. For the first time, he stood up to her. And I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulder. Edit. A lot of people are asking why I didn't just let her talk. Honestly, this wasn't about a simple conversation anymore. She was destroying our honeymoon, and I couldn't sit back and watch her do the same to our marriage. It was time to end this cycle. Third update, I thought after Diane left, things might calm down. But I was wrong. That night, we went back to our hotel, and things were quiet. Too quiet. Then we noticed something strange. There was a man standing near the entrance of the hotel watching us. He didn't look like he was from around here, and there was something about the way he kept glancing at us that made my stomach turn. Ethan didn't seem to notice, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. When we got back to our room, I checked my phone and saw a text from Hannah. Mom hired a private investigator to track you. She's trying to find you. I couldn't believe it. Diane had hired someone to stalk us. The next day, the investigator knocked on our door. He claimed Diane sent him. Ethan didn't even blink. He told the man to get lost, but I could see the fear in his eyes. Diane wasn't just controlling him, she was dangerous. We packed up and left the hotel early, heading home. But as we boarded the plane, I saw a new message from Diane, this time from a different number. Her voicemail said, Ethan, you've made a terrible mistake. You don't understand what you've done. I'll make sure you see the truth. You always do. Ethan was shaking as he listened to it. And I knew deep down this wasn't over. Edit. Thank you all for your comments. Some of you are worried about Ethan, and I get it. This isn't an easy situation. He's still processing everything, but I'm here for him, and we'll work through this together. Final update. When we got home, we tried to settle back into normal life. But it didn't take long before the letters started coming. Cease and desist. Diane was threatening to sue me for emotional distress and alienation of affection. I couldn't stop laughing at first, but Ethan didn't find it funny. He was spiraling, and I could see it in his eyes. He still felt guilty for not being able to help his mom, but he knew it was time to end this madness. He had been living his whole life in her shadow, and now it was time for him to finally live for himself. Then 2 weeks later, Diane showed up on our doorstep. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I was in the kitchen when I heard the pounding at the door. Ethan opened it before I could stop him, and there she was, soaked from the rain, furious and completely unhinged. She barged past him into our house and started yelling at him like he was still a child. "Oh, you've changed. You're not my son anymore," she screamed. She was crying, but I knew it wasn't real. This wasn't sadness. This was manipulation at its finest. Ethan stood there, his face twisted with pain, but this time he didn't back down. He took a deep breath, and for the first time, I saw the clarity in his eyes. "I love you, Mom," he said, his voice steady but firm, but this ends now. Diane's face twisted with rage. "You're just like your father. Weak." And that's when something inside Ethan snapped. For the first time in his life, he remembered the truth. "You told me Dad left because he didn't love me," he said, his voice trembling. "But that wasn't true. You drove him away just like you're trying to do with my wife." Diane froze. Her mask of control shattered. She could no longer keep him in the prison she had built for him. "I never want to see you again," Ethan said, his voice quiet but resolute. He turned to me and gave me a long, meaningful look, one that said everything we had fought for. Without another word, he closed the door on his mother. Diane stood on the other side, her anger boiling, but Ethan didn't flinch. We both knew this wasn't the end of her attempts to control him, but it was the end of her power over him, and that made all the difference. We stood there for a moment, the weight of what had just happened settling in. Ethan was breathing heavily, but there was a new lightness in his eyes. He was free. We didn't talk for a while. I could feel the shift in him, but it wasn't something that could be fixed in one conversation. He had to process the years of manipulation, the guilt and the pain that came with breaking free from someone he had spent his entire life trying to please. But as we sat together in silence, I knew we had crossed a line. We were no longer in her world. We were in ours. Whatever came next, we would face it together. For the first time in a long time, I felt like we could finally move forward, free from the toxic pull of his mother's control. And that was it. Ethan was free.